get some boring hoodie at this?
I suppose they can ask Bill if he took the stampers with him.
He told me to tell you to handle the stampers with care.
Set them right here. Oh, Bill.
I'll take this one, how's that?
Oh, change them.
Are we all set to go? You push down and then you turn. So, then you rotate it. We're gonna say the pledge over right now, I think. Carla, are we ready to go?
Yep.
All right. We'll say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. That's part of our roll call. Bill, are you on?
Yes, I am.
I thought so. I thought I recognized that breathing.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, we'll consider for approval minutes and agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and agenda.
I'll second it.
All right. I've got a motion from Smith and a second from Jensvold to approve the minutes and agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Discussion with possible action regarding COVID-19 policies. Julie, are you on?
Yes, I am. I don't breathe as heavy as Bill, though.
Okay, well, we won't compare.
Our numbers for the last 10 days are at 3%, with 7 positive cases, and the last 14 days have been 5%. Total vaccine for our county is still 47.5%, and the state is at 55%. So, I like seeing those numbers go down. I do have a little more information about the boost now, which is a half a dose. We are holding those clinics on Thursday afternoons, and you do need an appointment for those, and it's 6 months after your last shot. So call the office for an appointment. And of course, we're having our regular flu clinics Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 1 to 4. And you have to call for an appointment for that too.
How about the mix and match?
Yep, you can mix and match. If you've had Pfizer, they're saying you can go ahead and have Moderna or Johnson, and if you've had Johnson and Johnson, you can do Moderna, and we have Moderna here. And Pfizer, we do not have here, or J&J.
But we can get it through Hy-Vee.
Yep, for the boost, yep. And you can get your boost and your flu shot at the same time, but we are not running those clinics together, so there's a mix-up. So that's why we're only having a COVID clinic right now on Thursday afternoon. If the demand is higher, we will change that. And so just watch our Facebook page and the media, and we'll let everyone know.
So since we're at the end of October here, I suppose we have to make a decision what we're gonna do with the employee policies due to COVID. Do we have some
Oh.
on this?
Yeah, we are at the end of October. That snuck up on me.
What do you think? We wanna extend it again, or
I mean, there's no downside to extending it for another month, is it? Is there? I mean, what are the downsides for that?
it's kind of a,
The only downside is that the same people seem to come down with COVID all the time.
and it is a cost to the budget,
Yeah. The
either in
expense- the expense
lost
of that.
work, or
Mhm.
I don't know that we're replacing anybody necessarily with extra costs that way.
Well, in certain departments, extra people have to come in to replace somebody who's not there due to being out.
But Carla, if their test comes back negative, how can they take COVID pay? Because a couple of mine, I ended up having them take regular sick.
We had one that said that the test came back negative, but the doctor said that they had, because of the symptoms, said, oh, we think it's a false negative and we think that you should stay home. So the doctor's note said, due to COVID, you have to stay home for so many days. So they
That's
ended up
true.
getting COVID pay because the way the doctor's note was written.
Gotcha.
And that's really just one employee that's. So, I don't know.
I don't know,
I'm
it's,
thinking that we should just extend it another month.
I probably would agree with you for the point that we're kind of in a transition now, when everybody's due for their boosters.
Yeah.
If they don't get the boosters, or if they get the COVID, it might be a challenging time.
Yeah. I guess that's what I think of it.
Bill, you got an opinion on it?
No, I think just as well extend it for another month.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion to extend the employee COVID policies for one more month.
I'll second it.
On a motion from Derby and a second from Smith to extend the COVID-19 policies for the employees for one more month. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, motion carries. Julie, did you have anything else?
Nope, not at all.
Okay, thank you.
Just thanks everybody in the community for being patient with us and everything, because we're still seeing our home health patients, so we appreciate that.
Okay. Thanks, Julie.
You ready for us? Okay, thanks. Morning, Robert.
Morning, how you doing?
Good.
Susan,
I'm great.
I'm done combining.
Oh, we got a couple more cornfields left, and some tillage.
Yeah, it's disappearing, across the country. It's not much left out there.
Mm-mm.
Sounds like rain for the next couple of days after today.
I did, I think I got it right.
Bill would be proud.
I did. Just take a picture, I'll do a selfie.
can post it on the county Facebook page.
Right to passage. She passes it back.
I really didn't know how to do it. I've never done one of those before.
Well, the heat tapes finally came in, so we're finally getting the heat tapes on the outside.
It's that time of year. I got pelted by ice chunks off a semi the other day. Grain truck was with tarp going down the road.
It was in the 20s the other morning, a couple mornings ago. Yeah.
At least we get rid of those little black bugs that way.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, for sure.
That's that letter.
Yeah, I've got a copy.
You did.
Did you get a call?
I was expecting.
Hope he gets here pretty soon. We've got 9:15.
You get a chance, you stop, take a note at the corner of 9 and 69 in the Block Wildlife area on the east. Rick is in there with a forestry mulching disc on the front of the skid steer, taking trees out, cutting them down, grinding them. Been there for a couple of days. He'll be there today again. But,
Those are quite machines.
yeah, I don't know if you, this is a big disc blade that spins.
Oh, I
I'll show you,
have
I've got some video of it, I'll show it to you. But, yeah,
I saw one of those online.
this happens to be a Diamond brand, but, yeah, it would claim up to a 14-inch tree. The smaller stuff, you can cut it and then mulch it as well. That's what he's been doing.
Good morning, Scott.
Minutes?
We've got just a few minutes. We got a 9:15 to do, so. So if you wanna move right along.
All right, guys are mowing blacktops, mowing gravels. Should have most of the gravels done, and mowers turned over to the paved road guys to do their snow traps and stuff like that. We have 2 crews doing ditch cleaning, one here just on the west side of town and one south of Thompson, around the curves there. We've got almost our stockpiling done for Buffalo Center for the next spring, so that's really good. They'll kind of have that finished up here before they put on snow equipment tomorrow. If not, they'll finish up with the equipment on. Then the guys are still out blading, trying to lose windrows before winter as well. So the longer winter holds here, the more projects will kind of get done and like that thing.
Okay. Anything else?
Is there anything they can do when they grade those gravel roads, when they come to field driveways, where it just doesn't turn them into such a lip? Yeah, it's just crazy.
You'd have to talk to Ethan about it. I really have
Okay.
never run a machine, so
Yeah,
it's
I mean, I just don't know if
fine.
there's any adjustment they can make when they get to those field driveways, because I mean, a car couldn't get in them, you
Yeah.
know?
probably be the best just to call Ethan and go to that specific driveway you're in trouble with and just
Well,
talk
there's
through it.
about 6, so I will do that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll call him.
Probably something we could all learn about it.
I just didn't know if there was something that's
You know, every operator's different, so sometimes it's a skill to improve on, sometimes it's looking at what kind of directions we're giving. Other times it's, are they following directions? You know,
yeah,
could be a number of things.
yeah. And some field driveways can't help but be higher than the road, because the field is higher than the road.
Yeah,
You know, I mean,
we do our best when new driveways go in to make sure that the field's lower than the road so that we have,
right,
you know, drainage from the road.
yeah. Okay, I'll talk to him about it.
Yeah.
Bill, did you have anything for secondary roads?
I think he went off, I heard him
He's
click out.
just muted.
Oh, yeah.
Alright. Well, let's see. I didn't really have anything for roads. Been pretty stable, so.
Lots of mowing going on, you sure see them all out there.
Yep. It's nice to get it done after things stop growing and make some
I
progress.
see the DOT finally did Highway 9. That's nice. Been a while. Alright, it's 9:15. We've got John Danos, Dorsey, and Whitney to discuss TIF and other projects with the supervisors. John, are you on the line?
What's the gist of this one?
We're looking at different projects. It kind of goes back to a little bit of that discussion from the ARC monies, how we're going to distribute that, and if we should maybe use TIF for any of those projects that we had discussed. So, John Danos, are you on the line?
That's Bill.
Yeah, I got back.
Because there's certain things we can do with TIF and certain things that are almost prohibited by legislation.
So this gentleman that's coming on is an expert in,
He's a bond attorney.
okay? So he will be able to hopefully explain what we can
Right.
do and what we can't do.
Is it possible to call their office and see?
Yeah, I was just looking up.
Print this off. That's there.
Yeah, I just got it up here. 515 699 3275
Wait. 515 and then what?
699.
Okay.
Here, let me just write it down.
I have it.
Yeah, is John Danos available? Okay, hang on. I'm going to try and put you on speakerphone. This is the Winnebago County Supervisors. Hang on.
Morning.
How are you doing, John?
I'm doing okay, thank you. How are y'all doing?
Good. So we've got some questions on TIF. You know, we're going through some of our American Recovery Act monies, and we're looking at, you know, we have a long list, and some of it can't be maybe funded through that because of too much need. But we're also looking at maybe trying to TIF for one or two projects. so we had some questions on that.
Okay, how can I help?
Well, one of the things we had talked about was our nature center. We had already determined we were gonna give, what was it, 140,000 to it?
Right.
And then we would, backfill that with the TIF monies the next year. But because of increased costs and things, it may be even higher than that might be needed. So is that a good investment with TIF?
Please don't take this as me being flip at all. I don't think I'm the right person to ask about whether or not it's a good investment.
All right.
I can assure you that there is quite a bit of precedent out there amongst counties declaring conservation related facilities and assets to be urban renewal projects and utilizing TIF and other urban renewal authority to help support those projects. I certainly think it's within the purview of your board to make a determination that those types of facilities or a particular project, to be more specific, is important for the urban renewal objectives of the county, whether it's as a kind of a economic development type of asset and amenity that helps with the attraction and preservation of workforce and employers and all of that, or if the circumstances were right and you were dealing with some kind of a brownfield or grayfield site or a blighted environment, it would certainly be a good fit there to invest in that. Either way, I'm confident that with the right consideration that your board could make a determination that this is a good fit and make the necessary findings. Of course, you all will have to weigh the facts and circumstances ultimately and resolve to make those findings yourselves. But it can be done legally.
Okay, that was my most important question, is the legal part of it. I know there's some restrictions on TIF. Are they restricting certain public building projects cannot be funded with it, or?
No, there is no black and white prohibition or restriction on the use of TIF currently for public facilities types of projects. We do have a what I'll nickname a feasibility analysis that has to be undertaken and illustrated as part of your urban renewal process approving the project. And if you choose to go that route and you're going to pursue this, we'll walk you through what that analysis requires. But again, ultimately, that's all the Board of Supervisors just making its own findings. It's not that you have to satisfy some outside third party. You just need to make sure you've gone through the analysis, and we'll walk you through it.
So if we were going to expand our public health building, it could be an allowable TIF project in the urban renewal if we do a feasibility analysis on it?
It certainly could be, yeah. And the key, I think, for you folks to remember is every urban renewal area that gets set up in the state of Iowa, and these are specially designated areas that give cities and counties somewhat extraordinary power within that geography to carry out urban renewal projects that get identified by the local government. Every one of those areas is based upon a finding by a board of supervisors or a city council if it's a city, declaring need. Why do we need these extraordinary urban renewal powers with respect to this geography? And the need is always one or a combination of three things. Slum elimination, and there's a definition of slums in the statute. I am unaware, folks, of any slum-based urban renewal areas in Iowa. We just don't tend to have that kind of poverty desert type of condition anywhere. So you can almost ignore that one. From there, we have blighted areas, which focus on things like physical deterioration of infrastructure, physical deterioration of private properties and structures, and other kinds of public health, safety, welfare types of challenges that might be preventing adequate development or redevelopment of property. And we do have a fair number of those blighted types of areas around the state. I don't think you folks have had blight findings on any of yours, but I'd have to review the history to be positive about that.
I think in the cities in our county, we do have a couple of them.
Agreed. The third type of area, which we see the most of, are economic development areas. Areas where you all as a board make a determination that we need to promote job retention, job creation. We need to support private enterprise, either in the development of new housing or in the sense of commercial or industrial enterprises. Those are far and away the most common. But here's the key. You have to know what that foundational need was for your urban renewal area where you want to take on the new project. And you as a board need to ask yourselves the question, whatever project we want to approve, whether it's the conservation facilities or it's the expansion to the health building, is that project furthering those objectives for our urban renewal area? And if we're challenged on that, can we justify that? So, for example, an expansion to the health building, if that's going to wind up housing a couple of new jobs that the county is going to be able to create, if you think and can connect the dots between that activity and job creation, job retention, inviting private investment, spurring new construction activity, all of those kinds of things that make up economic development, then you can make the finding that that is an urban renewal project that you're going to approve and pursue. If you don't think in your heart of hearts and you can't make a rational connection between the public facilities project and those underlying urban renewal objectives, well, you're going to have a tough row to hoe defending that if there's no rational connection. Maybe it's not a good fit with your urban renewal program. I'm not going to beat this thing to death anymore, but that's the type of analysis that I would encourage you folks as elected officials to go through with each and every new urban renewal project that you might consider undertaking, because there needs to be that fit with the policy reasons for why the urban renewal area was established. If you have that fit, the courts have made clear they're not interested in overturning rational legislative findings that your board of supervisors might make. So they're going to give you broad deference.
All right. So when you talk about establishing an urban renewal area. What we're looking at doing is expanding it, an existing one, amending it. That's the same rules that you're talking about there that we would have to go through.
Yep, you got it. So you've got an existing area. I think we can probably safely assume it was founded on a need to promote economic development and probably not to fight blighted conditions. That would be my guess.
Right.
You identify a new project that you would like to add to that urban renewal area. And so we're going to need to do an amendment to that urban renewal plan. By amendment, we'll need to add any ground that isn't already in that area in order to facilitate the new project. And you folks are going to ask yourself that fundamental question: is this project important for economic development? You'll make that finding, assuming that the facts are there, and we will amend the plan to authorize that project. And, from there, it just becomes a question of what are the cash flow needs for the project, how are we coming up with that, et cetera, more of the debt and technical TIF side of all of it.
And this involves public hearings with both the other taxing entities and with the public, right?
Yeah, that's right. The urban renewal amendment process, which incidentally is virtually the identical process if you were setting up a new area,
right,
for whatever that's worth. It takes about a month, start to finish. The initial board action is just setting a date for a hearing and introducing the plan amendment. After that, you do have to do a notice of hearing in the newspaper. You'll need to invite the school district or districts, and I suppose if you were going inside of city limits, you'd need to invite the cities to a consultation meeting, which is typically held about 2 weeks ahead of the public hearing date. If you're adding ground to your area, you'll need to run the proposed plan amendment past the county Planning and Zoning Commission. That also needs to take place before the public hearing would be held. And then at the end of roughly a 4-week time period after you've attended to those things, then you'll hold the hearing at the Board of Supervisors and take your up-down vote on amending the plan.
Okay, so let's go back to the requirement of getting together the planning and zoning, notifying them. Can you start over on that part of it?
Yeah, and that requirement is only going to be in the mix if we are adding real estate to your urban renewal area. So sometimes we amend plans where we're not adding any ground at all because the geography was already included in the boundaries of the area. And in those cases, we don't have to trouble the folks on the Planning and Zoning Commission at all. But if we are adding ground, the law requires that you provide the Planning and Zoning Commission with a copy of the proposed urban renewal plan amendment, and their role is advisory. They're supposed to review what you're doing and provide comment as to whether or not the proposed project and activity is consistent with call it the comprehensive plan for development of the county. And that review and their ability to comment is supposed to be accomplished before the Board of Supervisors conducts its public hearing. So we have to squeeze it into the mix.
All right. So that would be prior to, okay, so that would be first, and then we'd probably have a meeting for the taxing entities, and then there'd be the public hearing for everybody else.
Right. Yeah, and all of this is typically accomplished in about a 4-week time span.
Right.
And as I think you're probably accustomed to in the past, we try to leave as little of this to guesswork or creativity on your end as we possibly can. We will walk you through all of it. We try to provide you with every document you would need, and certainly instructions on how to navigate the process.
So this is, what we're trying to do is we have excess revenue in our TIF right now that we have to decide whether we want to invest it into projects or to pay off our loans ahead of time. But then the TIF would end at some point if we keep doing that.
Yeah, and I think it's excellent that you folks are going through the process of considering what your options are, and talking about what is the best use for those property tax dollars. I'm a depressing lawyer by trade, right? So I never realized coming out of law school that my primary role was to just think about the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah.
But here I've learned 20 years later that, yeah, that's sometimes what I need to do. And so I do think it's good that you give some consideration to maybe using the asset to retire existing debt. I don't have all of your matters open in front of me, but I suspect a lot of that debt was structured as general obligation debt of the county, and you're using TIF to help make sure that you don't have to levy the debt service tax in order to pay off those bonds. I'm guessing, but that's kind of my recollection. And so, just would urge you as you make your decisions to always remember that GO debt, whatever it is that's out there, it's full faith and credit. You're completely liable on it. And if something were to happen to interfere with the TIF revenues, you are going to be required to pay that debt. If by no other means, by levying the debt service tax on everyone in the county. And things can happen to interfere with TIF cash flows, whether it's reductions in valuations because of casualty or just general changing conditions, or legislative change with higher rollbacks. I mean, right, 9 years ago, we never had a commercial or industrial rollback. It didn't even exist, right? Today it's 10%. That's not set in stone. So, and don't get me wrong, I'm all for new projects, and you all may undoubtedly, you're going to strike the right balance for your county. But I do think it's great that you're having that conversation and working through it. I wish you the best with making those decisions. I'm assuming you're talking to your financial people too, as you look at these things.
Yeah, we will be. Right now, we're just trying to get the idea of what can and can't do.
Yeah, got it.
So, well, did either any of you have any questions for John on this?
Carla, you had mentioned at the last meeting, we talked about this, about the requirement of having to have debt to proceed. So that would mean that the money has to have been borrowed or bonds sold?
Yeah, our county conservation, director has asked the question that about having to borrow the money 1 year and then pay it back the next, that's correct? Because we can't just take it out of TIF to do a project, right?
Oh, yeah, great. Thank you.
You have to incur the debt and then pay the debt back.
Here's the key. Here's the key. I'll run you through my steps that I urge every one of my clients to just try to keep in mind. For each and every new project that comes along that you think you want to use TIF on, please remember that there is an order of steps that we ought to be following in order to keep things legitimate. Number one, you've got to identify and know something about the project itself, right? And that doesn't mean you have to have blueprints or plans and specs and a firm cost estimate, but we need to at least have enough information to know what the project is, where it's happening, why we want to do it, and a maximum amount of TIF that we might claim over time to put towards it. So that's step one. You've got to identify and plan a little bit for the project itself. Step two, we've already talked about. You need to amend the urban renewal plan or establish a new urban renewal area, either way, in order to authorize the project. It's got to be identified and authorized in an urban renewal plan. That's step two. Step three, you have to go into debt. If you want to use TIF, you have to go into debt to pay for the project. Now, the debt could be like you've done before. It could be a bond issue out in the bond market, GO bonds or pure TIF bonds, or it could be a local bank loan. You go borrow the money from a financial institution down on Main Street or what have you. So any of those kind of traditional credit deals that your county might do, that can be a TIF debt. But you can also do internal borrowing, loan yourself the money. So if you, let's just pretend you had cash reserves in the general fund, where you could part with $400,000 for a few years, and you need the $400,000 for your project, you could borrow the money from the general fund, apply it towards the project cost, and then collect the TIF over time to repay the general fund. We can document those as non-current loans of the county. And then if the circumstances are right, it's a little more unique, but things like TIF rebate agreements with private developers also are a form of this TIF debt. But the point is that step three, you have to go into some type of TIF eligible debt to fund your project. Then that debt gets certified to your county auditor's office as a claim on future TIF, and then of course in future fiscal years, if the valuations are there, the property tax revenues get divided TIF style and deposited into your TIF fund and are then used to repay the debt. And you repeat that process for each and every distinct urban renewal project that comes along. If you follow those steps of identify the project, amend or update an urban renewal plan, approve a TIF eligible debt, and then certify the debt, you follow those four steps, you're going to stay legitimate each and every time. So we cannot use TIF money straight out of the TIF fund to pay project costs. It's a debt repayment tool.
All right. That's what we were looking for. Any other questions from the group? All right, well, I think you've answered all our questions for now, and we'll probably be getting a hold of you if we decide to move forward with any of this.
Very fine. I'll look forward to hearing what you decide to do.
All right, thank you, John.
You bet. Let me know if other questions come up.
Okay.
Good luck.
So, we'll have to make those decisions on probably, I don't know if we make them as supervisors in these meetings first, where our priorities be for each source of funding, or if we make it through the committee. I imagine we have to make our decisions where we want to put our monies before the committee makes recommendations, really.
Doesn't it kind of need to be made all at
Once, yeah.
all at once?
So, if we have a committee meeting, we're probably gonna have to specifically put on the committee meeting part of it that we can discuss TIF as part of the process in the agenda.
And regarding the Nature Center project, I wonder if you could, if you come to a decision on how much you want to contribute towards the project, but, and the committee would obviously be involved, but allow the ARP funds to be used pending or contingent upon how the TIF, urban renewal and all that pans out, because that's going to take probably several months anyway, by the time you get started. And then potentially create or add the nature center into that urban renewal area, if that's what you want to do. I mean, obviously the ARPA money is easier to allocate than TIF.
Right.
You don't have the
Cash on hand.
process to go through. And none of the funds, neither of those funds would be needed until sometime later in 2022. If the project was let in December and the bids were approved, the work wouldn't start till April, so we wouldn't start incurring any bills until after that. And we've got, over half, we've got, the $1.3 million available. And the project is probably going to take about a year to complete. By doing that, would potentially then would allow the Conservation Board to go ahead and get the bid packages put together in the next month, and then let the bid sometime in December around the first of the year.
I'm guessing as supervisors, we gotta look at, I know there's some pushback in, from one or two individuals in the county that are against using county funds on that project that you have. But, we have to look at the perception for us. Is it better to use the federal funds towards the public health, because it has more to do with that in some people's eyes, or do we split it up so both of them get some of it, and maybe we can use some TIF on both of them, or we have, it's kind of a juggling act there. I mean, we're gonna have to, we've already committed the 140 in the budget. Can we use the Recovery Act monies for that portion of it, since it was already budgeted?
Well, we're not gonna use it out of this budget anyway, so.
Well, if it was, though, can you do something that was already budgeted, or does it have to be new incurred?
I would say,
I mean, it has to do with what they allow. So, but if it's in the next budget year, then it's easier to identify that it's coming from.
And all of it is coming, would be the next budget year.
Right.
As it is.
Well, we don't know that, I mean,
if
public health building, if we could get,
Well, I mean,
something there.
per our project, if it was let and the bids were approved, this is all, most of the expense will come in the next
Right.
budget year.
Okay. Well,
So are there other, he mentioned borrowing from the general fund as well too, so,
and we've done that.
yeah. So are there other places other than this art money and the,
TIF.
and the TIF? I mean, are there other places we should be
But
looking at?
I'd rather not look at the levying more money,
Right.
because we already maxed out our levy, so.
Absolutely. I'm just, are those the two options that you think are the most feasible for your project?
Yeah, I would say for our project, yeah. For
Other than the
majority of
fundraising
it.
you're doing.
Well,
Yeah.
and the fundraising will kick back into gear once the bids have been accepted. We get to that point, but,
And if we decide to fund up to a certain amount to make sure it gets going in the next budget.
Yeah.
It might be if you do your fundraising, we don't have to use that money.
exactly, yeah. And it's gonna depend on where the bids come in at.
Yeah,
Maybe we can be
that's all
surprised.
part of the equation.
Yeah, that's,
It'd be nice to know the bid before we do our budgeting though.
yeah, and it's, as it is, it'll be.
It'd also
I
be
mean, it
nice to
would
know
be
how the
December.
fundraising's going too.
And then, I mean, it would be known before the next budget is approved.
Mhm.
It'd be like February, I suppose, where we get towards the end of February before it gets approved, or they actually get into March.
My budget will be done well before February.
But I mean approved by, when does it get approved?
Certified, or I don't know what we call it. We have our public hearing when?
Well, the first one, I'll be
February,
end of February.
but there's not much chance for change after that.
Well, we would hopefully know something in December if it went,
If anything, if we could lower something on the budget, if we have to change, if we have a big dynamic change, it's nice to lower that. But we can identify one of two sources to fund it, so it's not from taxpayer dollars necessarily on the levy.
yeah, we put in our budget what we anticipated, we already did that for this current year, what we anticipated the expense to be. And of course, we haven't expended any money from that, because the project hasn't commenced. So we would do the same thing again, but it's gonna be a bigger number, of course. And those numbers were all based on our fundraising and grants and all those types of things before COVID.
So what was the time frame again too? So if you let those bids again, how quickly do they need to be
Accepted?
Approved or accepted?
Well, the last time, it was a 45-day window. This time, it sounds like it would be probably a
Less,
week. or-
yeah.
It's gonna be pretty small.
Things are
time.
more stable now, but they could any day
Yeah,
turn volatile.
And by, the longer the window is, the less, probably gets a better chance that the contractor's gotta build in
More stuff,
more
more.
protection so
Yeah.
that for increases. But
Bill, did you have any questions or comments on this?
I just got back on dropped my call. As far as, funding of the nature center.
Yeah. Or even the public health.
I agree with everything that you guys have said, so, I heard it all up until the last minute or so.
So do you think we're gonna wanna have to discuss this in another board meeting again, prior to a committee meeting? So we have somewhat of a direction, or, and when I say committee meeting, of the ARC committee or whatever it is?
Yeah, that would probably be best, yeah.
Okay, so should we put it on our agenda for next week to discuss?
No,
All right,
With the committee,
well, no,
or just
I
us
think we should probably discuss as a board.
before the committee.
Yeah, before the committee.
Yeah.
What our priority, just kind of a general priority of where we want to use, if we want to use TIF at all, if we want to, and how we can justify it. It's more of a TIF discussion right now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'd say put it on the agenda for next week.
all right, we'll do that then. Anything else on this one then? If not, we'll move on to Auditor's Office, drainage matters. Hi, Chris, this is Terry, we're ready for you. All right, thanks. Put it down, and it'll slip down just a little bit here in the background. I think there is an adjustment on this. Good morning.
Good morning. I don't have anything today.
Bill, did you have any drainage issues? He must have gone off the truck. All right. Did you have any?
I don't have any.
Anything on, how about an update on that? We adjusted that letter that went out to Mr. Hanson?
I haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard anything either.
Okay. All right, well, if there's nothing else.
Sounds good. Well,
Thank
thanks. Have a good day.
We're up to consider for approval, public purpose resolution. Cool. Bill, are you on?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. I've got a motion from Smith and a second from, I'll make the second, motion from Smith and a second from Derby to approve the resolution of public purpose. And this resolution will allow for the county to give a donation to the Forest City Food Bank in lieu of a plaque for Kevin Williams, as he thought that would do more good. Any further discussion on this? Because he is going to retire, or we'll let him call the shot on that.
Absolutely.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion carries.
Sorry, who made the motion?
Sue made the motion, I seconded. Bill, are you back?
I'm back, yeah.
Okay, well, we just passed the public purpose resolution, and what it was the Instead of a plaque for Kevin Williams as he retires, he thought a donation to the Four City Food Banks in lieu of the plaque.
Oh, okay, yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay, so we just passed that, so. All right, consider for approval amended and substituted County Electronic Services System 28E agreement.
Did you guys get a copy of it in the mail? I think they did mail it out.
Hard mail?
Yeah. Nothing, or email? Okay.
I didn't see an email.
And that would have been from,
Iowa Land Records.
no, didn't get that. No, I don't think, I had been looking at my other stuff too, so.
Okay, well, we've got till, I think it's November 19th to go through this, and they sent a letter, and in the letter, it says to review and adopt a resolution to approve the proposed amendment, and I don't know if we need a resolution, so maybe we need to talk to Kelsey a little bit and
Okay,
table it till next week, or.
I'll look and see if I got some from Iowa Land Records.
I can make you guys a copy too, so.
Yeah.
Or forward it to you.
Why don't you forward it on to us,
Okay.
and we'll have it. I didn't find anything here, so. All right, so we'll just put it on.
Nothing today, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, find out if there should be a resolution or not.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to open forum. While we're doing open forum, Bill, do you have a YouTube video online on how to run these stampers?
What was that? You were kind of breaking up.
I said, do you have a YouTube video online showing how to run these stampers?
And to change the date.
Oh, the stampers. That's what you said. Well, I should make a video like that because it's just too complicated to try and walk you through it here now.
We're making it work, Bill.
I'm sorry that I'm going to set the responsibility on you. And I'm also sorry that I'm having trouble with my phone and I got a relatively weak signal and it seems to be aggravating it.
Oh, we're making it. Anything else for open forum? Hearing none, consider for approval of payroll claims.
I'll make the motion to approve the payroll claims.
So they come that way now?
It's however if you want them that way, we can do it that way. If you want them the old way, we can do it the old way.
Rather than going through each page?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
It's pretty easy to read.
yeah.
Did she get it all, everybody worked out?
I think so.
I know we got the last of our
What gets
username and
though
password.
I'd probably just go stamp at the end.
at the end.
Yeah, it's probably easier to read this than
Easier to
the other
read, I
ones.
think.
Okay. She brought it in today saying that if it's easier, if we can do it this way. If you'd like it the other way, we can do it the other way too. So it's whatever you want.
And they're all in here then. How about timing wise? Because sometimes it just barely gets here before we close.
Well, so there's not technically timesheets anymore.
Okay,
So they have to get them through our system by Monday morning so that
okay.
we can get it here.
So it wouldn't work if we switched our meetings to Mondays then.
Right, well, I don't know. Then
Not
we'll have to
easily.
do it something different, but
Yeah.
I think that's easier to read.
Well, I'll second Susan's motion. So Bill? Bill,
Yes,
seeing as how there's a new stamper in town here for the day, we're looking at the approval timesheet rather than all those sheets that have to be stamped. If we,
oh, is that right?
if we do this today where we have one stamp for the whole thing, are you okay with doing it that way next time? For a couple of months?
Well, that's kinda like taking responsibility away from me, isn't it?
Not necessarily, you still have to read everything.
Oh, okay, all right, well, all right, I'll grudgingly go along with it.
All right. So we've got a motion from Smith and a second from Derby to approve the payroll claims. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, motion carries. Now, just me that signs it, right?
yeah. Yeah, 'cause that's who signs the other ones, so.
You can return that stamper now. No, not that stamper, I mean your name stamper.
Oh, no,
You like that?
we still have claims.
I know.
All right, well, that concludes our meeting. We'll stand adjourned. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, you guys have a good rest of your week.
Be safe.
Yep, thank you, you too.
There we go.
That's how the world turns out.
You mentioned that tree grinder, cutter, mulcher.